Hello, my name is Stephanie Kidd. I work for the Kentucky Valley Educational Cooperative. I would like today to talk about using the CSA model, which is concrete, semi-concrete, and abstract, to teach fractions. So let's get started. So one of the things I really wanted to talk about today is how do we use different models to demonstrate fractions? One of the things that I love to use in this case is our fraction strips. Now you can make fraction strips really easy using just different colored construction paper. And I recommend letting our kids actually do that because of the folding and understanding fair share amongst the fractions, but also to understand that spacing is important when we're working with fractions. This is just one of the things that I like to use. So in this case, our students can see that this is two halves make a whole, and they understand the part of the whole. They also understand that 3/6 is equal to a half, and they can see this very easily. I'm trying to shade this so that you can see it. So that you can see this very easily. You can also understand that 4/8 is equal to a half. They can see that. If we're using 1/3, at this point, they can see how 3/3 is a whole, but also that 2/6 is 1/3. And we can talk about simplifying fractions in this way. This is a wonderful way for them to be able to see this. They can also see how not only is 2/6, but 4/12, and how we can talk about if they were looking at simplifying a fraction, that 4/12 can be simplified to 2/6, it can be simplified to 1/3. And I love this part of being able to use fractions and talk about how we could simplify that. How do you know this? Because, well, we can simplify this to 2/12 is 1/6. We're putting this together. We can look at these and we can talk through that and how this can be actually, if we needed to, put right on top. Some students need that to be able to see how this ends up being simplified into that fraction. So I love that. Now that is the concrete way, of course, when they're using those, or if they're even folding the paper and they're doing it that way. That's wonderful for our students to be able to see this. Now, for the next one, okay, so for this one, I just want to quickly talk about the fact of how we use that CSA model in the S part. So in the S, we are talking about semi-concrete. We're wanting them to start creating mental images, and most of the time how we do that is through drawings. So for this one, I want to start with, let's start with something simple, such as 2/12. And remember, we're simplifying. So if we're talking about 2/12, we're hoping at this point that students understand that 2/12 is actually a 12 is an even number, so they can do it in groups of 2. So maybe they'll look at it as this right here. So they'll draw down 2, and then they'll be like, oh, well, it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And I would want them to count again. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And so they'll just fill in this box here. And again, the reason I like using graph paper is because I want them to understand that it is equal in all areas for this, and that they need to have an understanding of what that needs to look like with the fraction. So this goes really well with like the fraction, any of like the fraction squares and those kind of things, because they're seeing it built in. And I want them to use different colors. So we're going to use a highlighter today. So I'm going to shade in 2/12, and I go straight down like this right here. So now we have 2/12, and I want them to divide this. So we know that this is 1/6. And so 2/12 simplified is 1/6. So 2/12 simplified is 1/6. They can see that. Well, let's do a little bit more difficult one. Let's do 8/24. Now, again, if they know that 24 is an even number, they will do this right here. They'll go, oh, well, here we go. And then they can do 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. Now, again, I want them to count again. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. And they can, again, we've got equal sizes because that's what the graph paper helps with. And that's the reason why I would really recommend anytime I'm working with fractions to have graph paper that they can use and then be able to see it on a number line, because even with a number line, if I was doing this, I have equal spaces because of the number line. This gives me that chance to do that if I'm working with a number line also. So in this case, I've got, and I'm going to fill in 8. So my student will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, I'm going to divide this in half. Shade it in as 4. And this is 12. So 4/12. What do I know? Again, is this the smallest one? Probably not. Let's do this in 12s now. And so again, 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. There should be 6 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or again, they will count because I want them to do that to double check. This is just teaching some of the math practices and making sure of precision and those kind of things with this. Again, we're dividing in half. And now we're looking, now I'm doing 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. At this point, I have 2. And this is 6. Is that the smallest number? Well, probably not, because 6 is, again, an even number. So let's look at this. 2, 2, 4, 6. I'm shading in at this point. I'm going to divide it because we know we can. I have 1, 3. So this is one way. Now let's talk about the fact that if the student already understood that 8 times 3 is 24. Now if they knew that, I could at this point go down here and go 3, and then I could go over it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we know this is 24. I know this is 3. I know this is 8. I know all the way across the top is going to be 8. Now I can actually see that it is 1/3. And it would be great for my students to be able to do that. But if not, there is a way for them to work this out. Now, let's talk about the fact that if my students are still having some trouble and I want them to see this a little bit differently, I can use a multiplication chart. Now, and let's say maybe that the numbers are kind of different for them, such as 14/49. Let's just say that we want to simplify. So I'm going to go and I'm going to find 14 on my chart. Now I found 14. If in that same row is a 49, I can stop right there. I'm going to circle my 14. I'm going to circle my 49. I'm going to take this all the way back to the beginning, which is 2. I'm going to take this one all the way back to the beginning of my multiplication chart, which is 7. So 14/29 is actually 2 7s. So they can see how they can simplify a fraction using the multiplication. This gives the understanding in this, going back to this, that it is truly multiplication and division. So I am dividing. What happens with this 24 to get to 12. And we talk about this too. What happened from 24 to 12? What happened? We divided it by 2. What happened from 12 to 6? We divided it by 2. What happened from 8 to 4? We divided it by 2. What happened from 4 to 2? We divided it by 2. And they start to see that this is what is happening during this. And we had those conversations all the way through. And so what does that mean? Well, if it can be divided again, then I can still simplify it. So we have that conversation. Now another one, let's just do one more and then I'm going to stop. We want to have that conversation with this, and this is very much just them using a multiplication chart, some kind of, graphic organizer, because they could fill this in if they needed to understand how to simplify a fraction. So let's do 54th 81. So if I'm looking for 54, I'm going to go through here. I'm just going to find 54. Where do I find 54 at? Oh, right here's one. And then 81. And then I'm going to look. Again, they're in the same row. They have to be in the same column. They have to be in the same column, not the same row. I'm going to pull this back to the beginning of the row. And I'm going to say, oh, that's 6/9. Now at this point, we know this is not simplified completely, but can I find 6/9 again? Well, I find 6 is 9 in that group. Nope. Can I find 6? Yes. Is 9 in that group? Yes. So at this point, I come here, I circle, back, back. Now it's at 2/3. So 54 over 81, or 54/81 is now simplified to 2/3. So this is a quick and easy way for our students to use a tool, which is in this case their multiplication table that they may have, to help to simplify fractions. Thank you.